Good morning and welcome aboard Metro Flight 467, nonstop service from Los Angeles to Jackson Hole, Wyoming. Just a little introduction about myself. My name is Sean and I fly for Metro Airlines under the call sign Metro 2027. And this little video is going to give you a little bit of information about Virtual Airlines and why I think you should fly for Metro Virtual Airlines if you're looking for MBA, as well as show you an absolutely awe-inspiring approach to Jackson Hole. I do have the Jackson Hole Orbx Airport, which requires you to have the Orbx Golden Rockies terrain package, and it's very beautiful, very beautiful scenery, and that I think it's going to be very interesting for you to see that. You may hear in the background some of the V-pilot sounds. This flight is on BATSIM, however, no ATCs online, and I don't foresee anybody being online. They were not yesterday, the first time I tried to make this video. I say the first time because, well, I had a little bit of a misunderstanding on how RNAV approaches work, so I had to initiate a few go-arounds. And instead of embarrassing myself and showing you that happening, we're just going to do it right this time. So, for a little bit of information about Metro Air, it is a fictional airline. A South American company actually just opened a real-world Metro Airlines, which has caused a little bit of issue with our website and web traffic of late, to the point that we've had to add disclaimers on the website that we are not affiliated with them, much in the way that you would if you flew for a VA based on a real-world airline. And that's funny because the staff members have gotten Facebook posts and emails regarding booking inquiries and issues with the website, and that's just plain funny. But the way that Metro Airline is run is based on a real-world airline, but obviously fictional. So, meaning all of the fleet, the routing, the schedule is based on how a real-world airline would have to think about it, based on aircraft availability, incoming and outgoing aircraft, where those aircraft are coming from, how many aircraft are actually in the fleet. All of this is actually considered by Metro Air when they're making schedule amendments or adding hubs or changing routes or adding new routes or deleting old routes. They really do take into account how many seats are available, would be available on that flight, what is the competition for that route, and if we can stand up to, you know, we don't have a ton of routes that would compete with American or Delta or United for that instance, because simply what it would be difficult to compete with them, and I think that's pretty cool. I really do think that's pretty cool. It can be frustrating at times, of course, because you know, there's some places you want to fly and are not given that option, but at the same time, it's not a free-for-all, and I think that's something to be desired. Little information about our fleet. Metro Airlines operates the following aircraft, and we'll get into a little more detail. The Q200, the Q400. It's the Airbus A319, A320, the A321, as well as the Boeing 757, the Airbus A330, and the Boeing 777-300ER. And the great thing about that is they've done this in mind with a lot of the payware aircraft that you may have purchased. And they provide liveries for those payware aircraft as soon as you join the airline. And I think that's great because you've made investments into aircraft and scenery, and a lot of the aircraft and the schedule allows you to use those sceneries that you may have made investments into. For instance, not only will they give you freeware sceneries for default aircraft or Project Airbus aircraft, but they will give you, you know, the Aerosoft A319, A320, A321, the Majestic Q400, the Quality Wing 757. They actually provide to you the model and liveries for the Overland A330 if you've spent more than 45 days with the airline, and they have PMTG textures for the 777, and that's great. That really is great because you've spent the money and you should be able to use those aircraft. And these guys have made the investment too, and they really take the pilot in mind when they make these decisions. So I'm going to switch actually to outside the aircraft here. We're flying today in the Aerosoft A320 in the Metro Air textures as provided by the airline. You can see it's a green aft part of the aircraft with silver and green striping. The Metro Air symbol, and the tail is a combination of grays and greens with the Metro Air logo. This is pretty standard. It's the same sort of texture for all of the aircraft. As you can see, we're starting to fly over Las Vegas. The sun is starting to arise. It'll be sun's up by the time we land in Jacksonville, Jackson Hole, which is great. So let's switch back to the cockpit so you don't get all dizzy on me. I've remade this video a few times because I'm trigger happy on the changing views from my joystick, and the recording software I use is not great for changing views that fast. It gets kind of screwed up. Alright, in addition to the aircraft I just mentioned, a lot of you, I can hear a lot of you, I can almost hear you shutting off the video, and I hope you do that. Well, I've bought the NGX 737, you know, what the heck? I wouldn't be able to fly that. I'd have to fly that sort of on my own, and the answer is no. I'd like to think that consideration was made, and I'm sure it was. Metro Air actually has a code-share agreement with another fictional airline called Fly UK, and they can be found at fly-uk.aero, A-E-R-O. And what that has done for the Metro pilots is we're allowed to fly code-share flights directly through our website. So logging into our website and going to the schedule and submitting bids on flights will allow you to fly a handful, probably 20, 25 or so Fly UK routes, which is great because as part of the Fly UK, code-share agreements are most of their 737-800 routes, which include the NGX. And provided to Metro pilots and vice versa for Fly UK pilots is the textures of some of our aircraft, including payware. So Fly UK has given us the NGX textures for their 73800, their 738, as well as the Level D 767, the PMDG 700, 777-200, the PMDG 747. Etc., etc., and that's great because we all have made investments on the NGX. I'm sure most of you have. It's a great aircraft. It would be a shame not to use them. I actually think one of my next videos will be a Fly UK code share route. One of my favorite routes to fly is Heathrow to Gibraltar, which is really cool. And so if you are turned away by the fact that the 737 is not part of our fleet, don't, because you can fly that aircraft and earn Metro hours. The next thing I'd like to discuss is a lot of myths that I, granted, were kind of my own self-assumed myths that are just not true if you have any other reservations about joining Metro Airlines. When you read the, I'm sorry for all the V-pilot noises. People are using it as a chat communication box instead of a private message. But actually, it looks like people are doing some self-policing as I look over there on the winds and runways arrival. But we'll almost be out of the Los Angeles area in a minute. We're currently just passing Los Angeles. Las Vegas. But so the myths. Like I said, I was very worried when I first started flying for Metro that I wouldn't be able to fly most of the routes because the time of your schedule is very strict. Meaning that when you fly on 8 cars and you push back, you need to be within 5 minutes of your departure time. 5 minutes early or up to 30 minutes late. And if you're 30 minutes late, you should have reason, whether it be VETSIM ATC or heavy traffic loads or the like. and I was worried that I wouldn't be able to do a 6 a.m. flight out of LA. We left Los Angeles at 1300, and it is currently it's currently 11 on the East Coast. So I was really worried with my work schedule that I wouldn't be able to fly a lot of the routes, just because the time would be incorrect on the ACARS, and that's just not true. You set the GMT time in your simulator. So, for instance, for a 1300 flight, I set the GMT to 1240, and when I pushed back at 1300, I've met the time restriction, and I think that's really cool because it does give you the option to fly every route and not have to worry so much about flying it at the true time. Another myth I kind of want to debunk is that you can't fly a route that somebody's already bid on. And it says very explicitly on the website when you join that bidding does not have to be approved. Pretty much the way that it works when you schedule a flight is you go into the schedule, you pick a flight, a number, you select it, it'll give you the time. It'll give you the times, departure times, expected arrival times. It'll offer you routing. You may fly your own routing if you wish. Like I use FTX, so my routing may differ from what is sort of a preferred route by Metro Airlines. However, they will not deny high rep for your own routing. And on that page, you'll be able to submit a bid. Now, a bid is kind of a scary word in the way that it could be expected that if somebody's already bid that flight, you can't fly it. That's not true. Multiple bids can be submitted for the same flight. It's sort of serious in a way, but it's also fun too. It's not uptight in a way that you wouldn't enjoy it. And by submitting a bid, you can fly that route, and I think that's great. That you're not stuck to what's provided to you, or if somebody else has already claimed a flight, or etc. You can both fly that route. And we do often do some flights. You know, a friend of mine and myself flew LAX to San Francisco a week ago. I'm very sorry about the pilot. I'm almost up to change frequencies. But, you know, a few weeks ago, a fellow pilot and I flew a spur-of-the-moment group flight from Los Angeles to San Francisco under the same bid, same flight, same plane, same departure time, etc. And we're just separated by FATSIM agency, which is cool. It brings me to my last point of why you should join Virtual Airlines, and that is serious but fun, but it's also a lot of interaction. It's a very good community. All the guys we fly with are great. Get to know them by name. They're not just a number. I flew for one of the Americans, I won't say which. I flew for one of the Deltas, I won't say which. And it was pretty much a free-for-all. Fly whenever you want. You know, it may be scheduled, but you know, it might be a 12 in the afternoon flight. You're online at 7 o'clock. Well, pick that route, fly it at the 7 o'clock timestamp. It really was a free-for-all, and one of the airlines I flew for, you didn't even have to fly the aircraft that was scheduled on that route. If it was you could fly the a 777 from Los Angeles to Las Vegas if you wanted to. I think that's fun, but that's not really fun. You know, it's interesting. It's good because Metro has provided you some short haul 7 flights for repositioning, stuff like that, to fill that need you may have sometimes of a short haul 777 route, etc. And you know, most of the VAs I had a TeamSpeak. Nobody was on it. They had a forum, but it wasn't very active, or they didn't have a forum at all. And that's not true with Metro. The forums, there are people on the forums every day, helping solve issues, helping answer questions, posting screenshots. The TeamSpeak server is often quiet. However, it can all of a sudden be filled with 10 people if you're all online at the same time, and you know, messages go out that, hey, we're on TeamSpeak, come join us. All of a sudden you're on TeamSpeak with 4, 5, 6 people, and that's really cool too. As well as the events. The events are great in the way that they're bi-weekly, your input is requested. It's not here's where we're going to do our next fly-in. It's what are your thoughts on this? What would be some cool events? What if we did this? And there's actually a lot of really good creativity. It's not just a fly-in sometimes. Sometimes it's more of a mission of sorts, and I think it's pretty cool too. And the communication is great. You really get to know the other pilots by name. And it leads to a lot of cool moments on VATSIM or flying online where we're building out sort of a fictional airline that gets recognition based on the standards that Metro expects communications on VATSIM, and I've found even if I'm flying by myself that the Metro name is very popular among people online, and that they're very excited to hear you coming because it really is a good group of guys. We have a lot of fun. And I want to clarify, Metro did not ask me to make this video. I'm actually not even sure if they'll be mad that I made this video. I just strongly feel that it's a good VA. If you're looking for a new VA or a second VA, I haven't seen them get mad at anybody for flying for multiple VAs. In fact, most people do. But if you're looking for a good group of guys who are active and are talk quite frequently, whether it's on the forums or on TeamSpeak, I highly recommend it. And they didn't ask me to do this. I really do want to reiterate. I feel very strongly that this is the VA you need. So, with that, I've talked to your ear off for about 16 minutes or so. So, you can see the weather is getting kind of weird. I am flying with active sky, but for the remainder of the flight, we are going to continue our cruise, and you'll be able to see some of the descent, some of the approach, and some of the landing, or all of the landing, I should say, into Jackson Hole. You won't have to watch the whole flight. See, there I go with the cameras again, right? My apologies. You won't have to watch the whole flight. I'll cut the video in and out at separate instances on things I want you to see. And with that, I want to welcome you again aboard Metro Flight 467, nonstop service from Los Angeles to Jackson Hole, Wyoming. Sit back and enjoy the flight, and we'll see you in Jackson Hole.
2,500. One thousand. $500. $400. $300. $200. $100. $70. $60. $50. $40. $30. $20. Retard 5.